Welcome to SymposiumX. Today I have gathered a wonderful panel of speakers. They are truly amazing. So I'd like to ask them to introduce themselves briefly, starting from Pat.
Pat Raycroft, Associate Director with Capra, a consulting firm out of Chicago.
Michel Weksler, a software engineer for payments at Airbnb.
Stefan Thomas, I'm founder and CEO of Coil, a startup in San Francisco.
Adrian Gropper, I'm Chief Technology Officer of a nonprofit called Patient Privacy Rights.
Great. So I'd like to ask you, what are the greatest achievements that you feel that you have in your life, come to this far? Yeah, I know it's a heavy question, but...
I can start. I think having worked in Silicon Valley for many years in payments and several companies, large and several fintech startups, I always bring innovation and thinking openly and critically about problems. I think there's a lot still to be done in the payment space, and a lot of innovation still to be done, and that's why I really like that space and feel like there's so much to do still.
That's great. Yeah. Pat, you want to share?
Yeah, I think my greatest view of the work I do is bringing a bit of pragmatism and a people-first view to innovation as well. So, everyone up here is extremely brilliant in their field of technology innovation, especially as it relates to consumer experience and payments. But one thing that I've prided myself on is being pragmatic and being able to bring those into scale and into the real world and affecting consumers' lives and retail operations.
That's great. Thank you, Pat. Yeah. Who else want to share? Yeah.
Oh, well, I've had the privilege of working in two kinds, at the intersection of two kinds of regulated processes, medical devices in my particular case, as well as professional licensure, because I'm a physician, but I have not practiced medicine beyond internship. And it's been a really interesting career to be able to see the role of regulation, which is now becoming so prominent. Yes. in web monetization and other aspects of how we use data today.
Cool. Yeah, so for me, I don't know if there's like a specific, single event or thing, but so for me, like we started Coil to help creators, get paid for their work and get a reward for their work, and so there've been a few instances where people have gone to Twitter or elsewhere and basically said like, hey, I'm doing so much better now that I'm using this technology, or hey, you really helped me out. Like this kind of content wouldn't be possible without this technology, and so I think it's those little moments that what you're doing actually has an impact is probably the thing that I would highlight.
That's great. So, so what is the trend that you're seeing happening in your industry, and how do you see from a year's time in 2020 and in 2029 that will happen? Yeah. So who wants to share?
Well, I'll start. In the healthcare field, there is this realization that we have two kinds of actors in industry. There are the principals, like a drug company or a medical device company or a surgical team that fixes knees, and then there are the platforms, and the platforms are the people that broker the data and that manage reputation to some extent, and other roles. And it's very interesting because the decision of the large principals, these very well-funded entities, as to whether they want to act as a platform or they want to stick to their core business is something that has to be made now constantly and will change, I think, as a result of blockchain and as a result of regulatory changes in the next few years.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's like this sort of once you see the matrix, you can't unsee it kind of thing. And so once I started thinking about what if payments were like the internet, where it's just interoperable and you don't even think about the fact that I'm on PayPal and you're on M-Pesa and I can still send money to you, right? And so now every time that it doesn't work like that, it just sort of sticks out to me like a sore thumb. Or like every time somebody is promoting, there was a project a while ago that Google did called the physical web. And it was basically like a way for sort of these beacons and different devices to find each other. And it had a great demo, which was a parking meter. So you could just walk up to the parking meter, your device would detect that you're near the parking meter, and you probably want to interact with it. It was all super seamless. And then at the bottom, if you looked at their little demo, at the bottom it said, powered by PayPal. And I'm just sort of like, why can't we build everything with open standards, but then payments we can't build with open standards, right? And so I want to fix that.
I think to add to what was said, the payments ecosystem is getting more and more online, of course, and we see use cases that in the past were purely offline becoming use cases where there's now online involvement and there's room, therefore, for standards. I think an area that is still emerging, and I see a lot of potential for and a lot of progress in the next couple of years is the interoperability of standards and payments from various parts of the world. A lot of the payments work to date has been focused on Europe and North America. And I think India and China, but also other forms of payment are going to become more prominent, and we're going to see a bigger consolidation. And whether it's using blockchain technologies or other standards, I think that's a very promising direction.
Thank you, Michel.
So in my field, in convenience retail, fuel, QS, quick service restaurant, general retail, the trend over the last 5 to 7 years has been the very individualized approach, as you were hitting on, Stefan, which is, I'm going to develop my own mobile app. That's the way of the future. I'm going to do it. I think over the next, we have already started to see it, but we're going to see it over the next 12 to 24 to 36 months, is a transition away from mobile apps into progressive web apps and a web-based experience. Just given that there's just too much traffic on our devices. Inherently, I think that opens up a lot of doors for standards bodies like W3C, but also for merchants that are trying to bring new and unique and innovative experiences to their consumers, as well as just streamlines change a little bit more, because today everything is very disjointed because everyone has their very unique mobile app experiences. So I think that's the near term. And then I just highlighting what Michel said, I think the convergence of digital into, especially stateside, but globally as well, the prevalence of brick and mortar retail is, everyone calls it the retail apocalypse, right? But I don't think it's quite there. I think there is a balance between the digital and the retail aspects, but it's how does retail change? Things like frontline queues going away. We see moments of that innovation in things like Amazon Go and frictionless checkout and those similar experiences, but where does the innovation eventually land? I think is what I'm most excited for 5-7 years down the line.
Thank you, everyone. So thank you, and meet us at SymposiumX. Thank you.
Thank you.